Welcome back to GossipShorts. Today, we're diving into one of the most haunting and tragic stories in rock history. The heartbreaking downfall of Sid Vicious, the notorious bassist of the Sex Pistols, and a symbol of punk's chaotic rise and violent collapse. Born John Simon Ritchie, Sid Vicious became an icon of rebellion, nihilism, and youthful rage. But behind the spiked hair, snarling attitude, and infamous behavior was a deeply troubled young man consumed by addiction, toxics, love, and emotional instability. His story is not just about a rock star who lived fast and died young. It's a painful tale of how fame, drugs, and vulnerability collided in the worst possible way. Sid Vicious joined the Sex Pistols in 1977, replacing original bassist Glenn Matlock. Not for his musical talent, he could barely play, but because of his fierce image and raw energy. In the eyes of manager Malcolm McLaren and frontman Johnny Rotten, Sid embodied the attitude of punk better than anyone. With his leather jackets, sneer, and violent stage presence, he quickly became a cult figure. But while the media portrayed him as a wild punk rebel, few saw the inner turmoil brewing beneath the surface. Sid came from a broken home, grew up in poverty, and struggled with abandonment issues, setting the stage for a life of self-destruction masked as rebellion. The real tragedy of Sid Vicious began with his relationship with Nancy Spungen, a troubled American groupie with her own history of mental illness and drug abuse. The two became inseparable, and their bond, while passionate, was deeply toxic. They enabled each other's worst impulses, spiraling into heroin addiction and chaotic violence. Friends and bandmates described their hotel rooms as drug dens, filled with screaming matches, broken furniture, and near-constant instability. The Sex Pistols' infamous US tour in 1978 was the beginning of the end. Sid, barely functional from drug use and personal turmoil, stumbled through performances while the band disintegrated around him. Just months after the Sex Pistols broke up, the most tragic chapter unfolded. In October 1978, Nancy Spungen was found dead in the bathroom of their room at New York's Chelsea Hotel, stabbed in the abdomen. Sid was arrested and charged with her murder, though he claimed he had no memory of what happened. The details remain murky to this day. Some believe it was an accident, others suspect foul play by an outsider. But what's clear is that Sid's descent was accelerating. While out on bail, he attempted suicide and entered rehab briefly, but the damage was already done. On February 2, 1979, just 4 months after Nancy's death, Sid Vicious died of a heroin overdose at the age of 21. Some say it was an intentional escape from a life he could no longer bear. Others believe he never truly grasped the consequences of his actions. Either way, his death cemented his status as a punk martyr. But at what cost? Sid Vicious wasn't just a cautionary tale. He was a wounded soul, lost in a world that devoured him. His story remains a grim reminder that behind the image of rebellion often lies profound pain.